It looks like Zendaya is ready to bring back the glitter, despite Sam Levinson claiming that her schedule is the reason that season 3 of Euphoria keeps getting postponed. The actress told Vanity Fair, quote, "I will say, I have been off for a couple of years, so not delayed because of my schedule. I've been open, just waiting."
This is the story of how the music industry killed Euphoria season 3, except it didn't happen the way you think. Everybody blames Zendaya. Everybody says the cast got too busy being pop stars. But when you actually look at the evidence, the timelines, the quotes, the receipts, the real music industry connections to this 4-year delay are way stranger, way messier, and way more interesting than anything the internet has been saying. And it starts with a quote. November 2024, Vanity Fair cover story, Zendaya said, quote, "I have been off for a couple years, so not delayed because of my schedule. I've been open, just waiting." Hold on. So the biggest star on the show was available, sitting there, waiting for years. Then who exactly was holding this show hostage? Because somebody was. And the answer involves an executive producer caught in the biggest rap beef of the decade, a composer who cursed out his record label on Instagram a month before the premiere, and a disastrous music industry TV show that almost ended the career of the man who created Euphoria. But first, let me show you how big this show actually was.
When you're younger, everything feels so permanent. But as you get older, you begin to realize nothing is.
Before everything fell apart. February 2022, Euphoria Season 2 just wrapped, and this was not a regular show, this was a cultural event. Season 2 averaged 16.3 million viewers per episode. The finale drew 6.6 million on premiere night alone, 5.5 times what the Season 1 finale did. It became HBO's second most watched show in history, behind Game of Thrones. It generated 34 million tweets, the most tweeted show of the entire decade. HBO renewed it immediately. Everybody assumed Season 3 was coming in 2023, maybe early 2024. Nobody thought we'd be waiting until April 2026, but before 2022 was even over, things started falling apart. Barbie Ferreira, she played Kat, announced her exit in August 2022, citing creative differences, and the costume designer Heidi Bivens told Vogue in late 2022 that there was already talk of a 5-year time jump for season 3, which basically means Sam Levinson had no idea what he wanted to do with the show, and he was about to get very, very distracted, because right around the same time, Sam Levinson was neck deep in another HBO project, a music industry drama called The Idol, which he co-created with The Weeknd. And I need y'all to understand what happened with The Idol, because it is directly responsible for why Euphoria took so long. Levinson had taken over The Idol from director Amy Seimetz back in April 2022. He scrapped most of her work and rewrote the show with The Weeknd. The Idol premiered on June 4th, 2023, and it was an immediate disaster. Rolling Stone published a devastating expose with 13 sources describing the show as torture porn. HBO admitted publicly that the initial production didn't meet their standards, and by August 23rd, 2023, The Idol was canceled after 1 season. Now, here's why this matters for Euphoria. Variety reported in March 2024, and I quote, "What's not on the table for Euphoria is going into production without completed scripts that everyone is happy with." Levinson did that during the unprecedented situation that was The Idol. Yes, you heard that right. HBO looked at what Sam Levinson did on a music industry show, the chaos, the rewrites, the improvisation, and they said, "We are never letting you do that again. Not on Euphoria. We need locked scripts before a single camera rolls." So The Idol, a show about the music industry, co-created with one of the biggest music artists in the world, is the single most direct reason HBO put the brakes on Euphoria Season 3. The Weeknd helped create the show that made HBO stop trusting Sam Levinson. Make it make sense. And as if The Idol disaster wasn't enough, 2023 kept getting worse. The WGA went on strike on May 2nd, 2023. SAG-AFTRA joined on July 14th. Hollywood was effectively shut down for roughly 6 months. Nobody was writing. Nobody was filming. Nobody was negotiating contracts. Every show in the industry was affected. But for Euphoria, it stacked on top of the Idol mess and the script problems that already existed. And then came the losses that changed everything.
Angus Cloud's cause of death has just been confirmed by NBC News. The coroner's office says that the 25-year-old died from an accidental overdose. The Euphoria star passed away at his family's home back in July, just a week after burying his father.
On July 31st, 2023, Angus Cloud died of an accidental overdose. He was 25 years old. He played Fezco, one of the most beloved characters on the show. And according to reports, Levinson had built Cloud's Season 3 arc as a structural backbone of the season, partly to help motivate his recovery. That arc had to be completely rebuilt. And then on November 12, 2023, Kevin Turin, the show's longtime executive producer, one of Sam Levinson's closest collaborators, died of cardiac dysfunction at 45. Levinson later told Rolling Stone that the real time was in trying to figure out how to find a way to pay respect to those who we lost. 2 members of the Euphoria family gone in less than 4 months, a showrunner whose credibility was destroyed by a music industry vanity project, an entire industry on strike, and the scripts still weren't done. Now, by early 2024, Levinson had submitted revised scripts to HBO, and HBO rejected them. According to Variety, one version had Rue demoted to a background storyline where she was basically a private detective, and HBO head Casey Bloys vetoed it. Zendaya apparently pitched her own idea, sober Rue as a pregnancy surrogate, and that was also abandoned. On March 25, 2024, HBO publicly postponed production indefinitely. Their official statement said they were allowing our in-demand cast to pursue other opportunities, and Variety reported 3 days later that HBO had even considered having Levinson step away from his own show. But here's where the music industry enters the picture again, because while Euphoria was stuck in limbo, its executive producer was about to become the target of the most devastating diss track in hip-hop history. Now here's something a lot of Euphoria fans either forgot or never knew. Drake is an executive producer on this show, has been since 2018 through his production company Dream Crew Entertainment. One industry analyst described his role as closer to the money side, with some input about direction and aesthetic. He reportedly championed Zendaya's casting. He's not in the writer's room, he's not directing episodes, but his name is on the show. And during the 4-year gap, Drake was everywhere. He released Honestly Nevermind in 2022, Her Loss with 21 Savage in 2022, For All the Dogs in October 2023, Some Sexy Songs for You with Party Next Door in February 2025. He ran the It's All a Blur tour and the 2025 tours, grossing tens of millions of dollars. But the moment that actually connects Drake's music career to Euphoria happened on April 30th, 2024. That's the day Kendrick Lamar dropped what many consider the most devastating diss track in modern rap history. And what did he call it? Euphoria, same word, same name.
Ain't 20v1 is 1v20 if I gotta smack niggas that right with you. Yeah, bring 'em on.
The cover art was literally a Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of the word. The track hit number 3 on the Hot 100. Kendrick followed it up with Not Like Us, which went on to win 5 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year. Now, the internet had a theory. People were saying Kendrick's diss track embarrassed HBO so badly that they forced Sam Levinson to rewrite the entire season. That's a great story. There's just one problem. It's chronologically impossible. The Hollywood Reporter had already reported in March 2024, weeks before Kendrick dropped Euphoria, that the show was doing a time jump and major rewrites. The rewrite was already happening. Kendrick didn't cause it. But does Drake's involvement matter? Here's the honest answer. Drake wasn't delaying scripts, he wasn't causing scheduling conflicts, but having your executive producer in the middle of the biggest rap beef of the decade, while your show literally shares a name with the diss track that defined it, is not exactly ideal for a production that's already drowning in drama. Drake didn't kill Euphoria, but the music industry put his name on a cultural war that the show didn't need. And get this, the music industry connections still don't stop there, because the man whose music defined Euphoria, whose voice and production were as essential to the show as Zendaya's face, just walked away. Labyrinth composed the score for seasons 1 and 2. His music wasn't background noise, it was the emotional backbone of the entire show. If you watched Euphoria, you heard Labyrinth on every episode. He and Zendaya even performed together at Coachella on April 22nd, 2023, her first live performance in roughly 7 years. In July 2025, HBO announced that Hans Zimmer would be joining the show as co-composer alongside Labyrinth. That seemed fine. But then on March 12, 2026, 1 month before the season 3 premiere, Labyrinth posted on Instagram and said, quote, "I'm done with this industry, forget Columbia, double forget Euphoria, I'm out." Now, I cleaned that up for the platform, but y'all know what he actually said, and he deleted the post almost immediately. But the internet had already captured everything. The night before the premiere, April 11th, 2026, he posted a clarification. "I spoke to HBO. As far as I know, we are cool. I left because when I work for someone, their vision is paramount to me, but I don't let people treat me like trash." And then he pulled all of his music from season 3 entirely. Every note gone. Hans Zimmer scored the season alone. Sam Levinson tried to frame this as a creative decision. He said the show had moved away from its pop roots, and he wanted to lean into an old-fashioned Hollywood Western score. But Labyrinth wasn't just upset with Sam. He was upset with Columbia Records, his own label. The same label, by the way, that signs Dominic Fike, who's also on the show. There's clearly a business dispute underneath this that we haven't seen the full picture of. But regardless of the behind-the-scenes details, the result is this. The show's original composer, Rage Quit, publicly cursed out his label and the show by name, and pulled all his music 1 month before the season aired. If that's not the music industry affecting Euphoria, I don't know what is. Now, here's the part that everybody gets wrong, and this is where I need to set the record straight. When most people hear the music industry killed Euphoria, what they actually mean is that Zendaya was too busy being a pop star to come back to the show. And that is not true. That is not even close to true. Zendaya's last studio album was released in 2013. Her last lead single was 2016. She told Jennifer Hudson in April 2024, quote, "I stepped away from music quite a while ago. When you put music and business together, sometimes it cannot feel so good." And when they asked about live performance, she said, "I have bad memories of performing live when I was was a kid. I can't do it. This woman is not a pop star. She has not been one in over a decade. What she is a movie star, and that's what consumed her schedule. Dune Part 2, which shot from July through December 2022, Challengers, which earned her a Golden Globe nomination, Spider-Man Brand New Day, the drama with Robert Pattinson, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, where she plays Athena, Dune Part 3. On top of that, a Louis Vuitton ambassadorship reportedly worth 8 figures, a Bulgari deal estimated at up to $15 million annually, Met Gala co-chair duties in both 2024 and 2025, and she explicitly denied causing the delay. She told Vanity Fair in November 2024, "I have been off for a couple years, so not delayed because of my schedule. I've been open, just waiting. I'm a little bit terrified. Can I even do this anymore?" She was available. She was waiting. She was scared, and the delay was coming from Sam Levinson's side, not hers. And it's the same story with every other cast member. Sydney Sweeney, she produced and starred in Anyone But You, which made over $220 million. The Housemaid grossed over $400 million on a $35 million budget. She has an Armani beauty deal reportedly worth over $10 million a year. No music career, Jacob Elordi, Saltburn, Priscilla, Frankenstein, which got him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Wuthering Heights, which made $241 million globally. No music career. Hunter Schafer, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which made $337 million. Cuckoo, Mother Mary, with Anne Hathaway. No music career. The only cast member who actually has an active music career is Dominic Fike. He's signed to Columbia Records for a reported $4 million deal. But here's the thing. His album Sunburn dropped in July 2023, and his Don't Stare at the Sun tour ended in October 2023. That was months before Euphoria filming even started. His music schedule didn't create any conflicts at all. In season 2, he was nearly fired, but that was reportedly over substance issues, not music touring. So the cast didn't get too famous because of the music industry. They got too famous because of movies. That's a completely different problem, but it doesn't make as good a title. Now let's talk about what the fame problem actually looked like in dollar amounts. Zendaya reportedly went from somewhere between 100,000 trime Arpinol and 500,000 trime per episode in season 1 to a reported $1 million per episode for seasons 2 and 3, roughly $8 million per season. 2 Emmy wins for this show. Youngest 2-time acting winner in Emmy history. First Black woman to win lead actress in a drama series twice. She earned every dollar of that number. Sydney Sweeney went from somewhere between $25,000 and $44,000 per episode in season 1 to a reported $800,000 to $1 million for season 3. One source told US Weekly, quote, "There's no way Sydney Sweeney is going to come back to Euphoria for anything less than $1 million per episode." Jacob Elordi reportedly went from low 5-figure per episode rates to roughly $700,000 to $1 million. For context, Euphoria season 1 already cost about $11 million per episode, according to Variety. Stack the salary escalations across the entire principal cast on top of that, and you start to understand why HBO was in no rush to start writing checks until the scripts were locked. Casey Bloys, the head of HBO, said it plainly in November 2024, "A lot of them became movie stars. Janet, our head of production, is very good at figuring out puzzles like this, and it requires a lot of creative scheduling. But everyone is expected to come back." And Francesca Orsi from HBO said in May 2023, "We don't have countless scripts. We can't start shooting, so the delivery, ideally in 2025, will be determined on when we can pick back up with Sam, not when they could pick back up with Zendaya. With Sam, production finally began on February 10th, 2025. It ran roughly 9 months and wrapped in early November 2025, and the show that came back was barely recognizable. The 5-year time jump was confirmed on February 14th, 2025, no more high school. Rumir is in Mexico working off a drug debt. Cassie and Nate are married in the suburbs. Maddie is working at a Hollywood talent agency. The show was shot on 35mm and 65mm Kodak film with what they called a Western noir aesthetic. The returning cast included Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, Jacob Elordi, Hunter Schafer, Alexa Demi, Maud Apatow, Dominic Fike, and Eric Dane. Coleman Domingo returned as a guest. Martha Kelly and Chloe Cherry were promoted to series regulars, but several original cast members were gone. Storm Reed confirmed at the November 2024 Governors Awards, quote, "Jay-Z's not returning to the 3rd season. Barbie Ferreira, Algie Smith, Austin Abrams, and Javon Walton were also out. And the new additions? This is where the music industry connects one more time. The new cast announced in October 2025 included Sharon Stone, Natasha Lyonne, Danielle Deadweiler, Eli Roth, Marshawn Lynch, Trisha Paytas, and Rosalia, the Grammy-winning Spanish singer playing a character named Magic. 18 new actors total. And then there was Eric Dane, Cal Jacobs. He revealed an ALS diagnosis in April 2025. He filmed all of his scenes anyway. And on February 19th, 2026, 2 months before the premiere, he passed away. He never got to see it. Season 3 premiered on April 12th, 2026, and the audience showed up. The premiere drew 8.5 million US viewers in 3 days, up 44% from season 2's same window debut. It climbed to 12. 5.3 million domestic, and over 20 million globally within 10 days. Episode 2 held steady at 8.5 million, but the critics were not impressed. Rotten Tomatoes scores hovered between 42 and 45%, compared to roughly 78 to 80% for the first 2 seasons. The Telegraph said Levinson had gone full pervert. The Guardian called it grim TV that seems hell-bent on rattling us, and Zendaya herself signaled the end. She told Drew Barrymore in March 2026, "I think so. Yeah, that closure is coming." And HBO's Francesca Orsi confirmed to Deadline, "It's been discussed that this is the end. 4 years of waiting. And this is how it goes out." So let me bring this all together, because the question was, did the music industry kill Euphoria Season 3? And the honest answer is not alone, but its fingerprints were on every layer of this mess. Number 1. Sam Levinson. His perfectionism, his endless rewrites, and most importantly, his catastrophic failure on The Idol, a music industry show co-created with The Weeknd that collapsed so badly HBO refused to greenlight Euphoria without locked scripts. That is a direct line from the music industry to Euphoria's delay. Number 2. The 2023 strikes. The WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes shut Hollywood down for roughly 6 months. That hit every show, but for Euphoria, it stacked on top of everything else. Number 3. The losses. Angus Cloud at 25, Kevin Turin at 45, and later, Eric Dane. These losses changed the creative direction, the emotional weight, and the pace of everything. Number 4. The cast becoming movie stars. Not music stars, movie stars. Zendaya wasn't in the recording studio. She was on a Denis Villeneuve set, and a Christopher Nolan set, and a Marvel set. Sydney Sweeney was headlining $400 million movies. Jacob Elordi was getting Oscar nominations. Their per-episode quotes went from 5 figures to 7 figures, and HBO had to solve a scheduling puzzle that would have been impossible even without all the other problems. And number 5. The actual music industry fingerprints that most people aren't talking about. The Idol poisoning HBO's trust in their own showrunner. Drake's executive producer credit turning into cultural ammunition in the biggest rap beef of the decade, with Kendrick literally naming his diss track after the show, and Labyrinth rage quitting, cursing out his record label on Instagram, and pulling every note of his music from the final season 1 month before it aired. So did the music industry kill Euphoria? Not with a single shot, but it loaded the gun. A music industry show tanked, a music industry executive producer got dragged into a rap war, and a music industry composer walked away from the show that made him famous. The stars didn't outgrow Euphoria because of music. They outgrew it because of movies. But the music industry was in the room for every delay, every rewrite, and every controversy. And by the time the show finally came back with a different sound, a different cast, and a different identity, the Euphoria that 16 million people fell in love with was already gone. The show survived 4 years in limbo, but the version of it that existed before all of this, that's the one that didn't make it. So I want to know, do y'all think Euphoria would have been better off if they just made season 3 in 2023 before everybody blew up and Sam Levinson went and made The Idol? Or was this delay inevitable once the cast became the biggest young stars in Hollywood? And do you think Labyrinth pulling his music actually hurt the show's identity? Or did Hans Zimmer save it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll see y'all in the next one.